Our first program of the new year. Boomer Takes from Pete and Jake. Guys, you're listening to us on this great Sunday night prime time block of programming here on KOFO, the 1220 103.7 blowtorch of the East Central Plains of Kansas. Also listen on live anytime, KOFO.com, and this show will soon be up on podcasts on 1220 103.7. You're listening in tonight. Many of you from not just Franklin County, but Lynn, Miami, as well as Osage and Anderson and Johnson and Douglas. Great to have you all here. Dr. Peter W. Tinsman is on here with yours truly, John Jacobson, as we help ring in this new year.
Good evening, everyone.
And Pete, Happy New Year to you. Did you celebrate in the tundra, or did you celebrate in the warmer climes?
Well, that's kind of both. I'm here in Florida, and we celebrated. We had a big party outside, but it was only 45 degrees.
Pete, Christmas Day, the lovely and gracious Deborah and I were walking on the Prairie Spirit Trail here. It was 70 degrees.
Isn't that amazing?
It's
Seriously,
just,
wow.
It's just phenomenal. And 2 days after that, it got up to like 75. So I was getting my steps in. I can walk outdoors when it's that warm here in December. We've had very little precip. It's been above freezing, and so I can't complain about our weather here. The only thing people are maybe a little bummed out about is it's kind of rained on the Kansas City Chiefs season. It what looked not to be a problematic year at the beginning. A Chiefs team that's clearly disappointed this year. But hey, it's a new year. Time for all sorts of good things. I think in many respects, 2025 was a good year, but people, we look back at some of the terrible things that happened. I think the murder of Charlie Kirk ranks up there as one of the most horrendous, consequential assassinations. I would put it up there. I know some would disagree with this, but I think because of the cultural consequences and the educational consequences, I rank it up there as a Kennedy Lincoln Archduke Ferdinand event. I think that this is a man, I mean, people don't know this. He was already going to be on the presidential ticket after Trump was out. He was going to be on the ticket with Vance probably in 28 and 32, certainly in 36. And, you know, it was basically a regicide that the left some of them rejoiced at the killing, which I think, talking to a lot of my friends and those on the other side of the spectrum, of whom I have many, many friends on the other side of the spectrum. But I think what was bone-chilling, Pete, was the reaction by the left, rejoicing and dancing on the grave, so to speak, when he was taken. And I think that was what really drew the fault lines. So I hope we can walk that back and get to a little more comedy as well as comedy in America here.
Well, you got to think, what has caused that sort of attitude? When we were in college together, there weren't people rejoicing, when Ronald Reagan was shot.
No, none.
I mean, and now it's like, if you're on one side of the political spectrum and something bad happens to somebody on the other side, it's like, people are happy, and yeah, that's a problem. So hopefully we can get back to people being a little bit more respectful and civil.
Well, Pete, I completely agree with you, and it's interesting. I was a wannabe radio guy since high school, freshman year, when I entered a little radio contest competitively, but really never was able to do that until, as an old man at double nickels, I think I was maybe 55, when I got into the radio game. And Pete, the whole thrust of this show, the reason the radio station in Southwest Iowa picked it up, a legendary radio station in Southwest Iowa, KMA, Shenandoah, home of the Everly Brothers, and Earl May was the owner of that radio station. But a liberal fellow attorney and I decided to do a show where we famously disagreed without being disagreeable, and always did segments on arts, culture, food, relatives. We did a big thing on prom dress safari shopping with our daughters and stuff like that. And so the whole thrust of our show was, even though we didn't agree with each other on anything politically, you could still be great friends and love and respect the person. Pete, I think that's what we need to get back to. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like, and people are like, oh, if you have family members that don't agree with you politically, well, don't invite them to Christmas. Don't invite them to Thanksgiving. What? Are you kidding me? I mean, and it's like, yeah, we've got, Heather and I've got friends who are Democrats, and we get along great.
Absolutely.
You just have to say, you agree to disagree.
Yeah.
There are two sides to an argument.
Yep.
As I try to point out to people, because both sides have really valid points for supporting the way they believe.
Exactly. There's a colorable argument in the law and in debate. They always teach us there's always a colorable argument. Instead of setting up straw man arguments or straw dog arguments, you got to take them at their best and persuade and reason that way. I think you're onto something. Continue this thread here, Pete.
Yeah, no, and I've kind of like, there was a protest. We were on vacation up in Wisconsin this summer, and there were these people marching, and we were Ripon, Wisconsin, the birthplace of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And there was a protest going out in front of that building, and it was like signs saying, Trump is breaking all sorts of laws and, taking away my freedom and blah, blah, blah sort of thing. And so I pulled up and I said, okay, what are you protesting? And the person, said, oh, we're defending our rights or that sort of thing. I said, well, or he's breaking laws. So I said, well, can you tell me what laws he's broken?
Good question.
And she just looked at me and I said, no, I was like, I'm not aware of any, but if you would like to teach me about what he has done, I'm very willing to listen to you.
Good job.
And she was like,
good protocol.
And she was like, well, if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you.
Ah, yes, of course, of course.
And so what was interesting was I took it as being, well, she doesn't know, so she's not saying. And Heather says to me, she goes, well, Peter, maybe she thinks you should know, and since you don't know, she doesn't want to waste the time explaining it to you.
Could be.
And I was like, could be. could be, but I guess I look at it as being, hey, listen, educate me and try to convince me to think the way that you do.
Yeah. Don't just use emotionalism, but Pete, I'm legally trained. I have to go with evidence, and that's why I've been so critical of some of these conspiracy theorists in the Charlie Kirk case. It's like, look, speculation is one thing. There's not a scintilla of evidentiary documents that could even be entered into court that backs anything that some of these people are saying. So again, show me the receipts. That's what I say. But I will.
Is evidence? Are AI videos not evidence, John?
No, and that's a big problem that we've got now. Being able to even differentiate between what's real and what's not real. I hearken back, Pete. I think your point is really well taken. Think John F. Kennedy and Barry Goldwater were going to campaign against each other on the same plane and travel together and do joint appearances in the 1964 election prior to JFK's death. Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, after famous bruising, figuratively speaking, legislative battles and votes involving the House and the president's agenda, regardless of who won, would retire and have a beer together at an Irish pub, two Irishmen that they were. I think that's what we need to get back to, Pete.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you a story of, it's kind of like what happened to this, people, making, the Republicans and Democrats and, hey, let's compromise on things.
Yeah.
And I saw an interview years ago in the middle of the night, and they were interviewing Dan Quayle.
Yes.
Our former vice president. Yes. And it was on CNN. And the interviewer asked him, why do you think that there is so much animosity between Democrats and Republicans? And he goes, oh, I know why. And he was like, well, tell me a story. And he was like, when I was in Senate, he was in Senate. He was an Indiana U.S. Senator, correct?
Exactly, yes.
And he said, back then, we were having these meetings in Vail and Aspen or, in the Florida Keys where we'd have these meetings and our families all come. And yes, the taxpayers were paying for that. But at these meetings, my wife would get to be friends with the Democrats' wife.
Right.
And the kids would start playing and we'd get to be family friends.
Right.
Well, then those meetings went away. He goes, it's understandable why they went. The taxpayers were having us pay for these nice vacations that we were taking. But what would happen is that my Democrat friend would come into my office and say, hey, I need help with this bill. Will you help me?
Right.
And he would say, yes, I'll help you. Will you help me with something that I'm working on? He would say, yes, I'd help you. And he goes, and now that's all gone away. And he said, that's where I believe the problem started. Well, that's true or not, but I found that very interesting.
It is very interesting. And, it talk about time passing by so quickly. Peter, I remember meeting, my wife was really impressed meeting Dan Quayle because she said he was so handsome. That was 10 presidential election cycles ago when he was a 41-year-old. Dan Quayle is now approaching 80. Can you believe how fast time has gone by in our lives, Peter?
No, I think it goes by slow because I am still, 26 or 27 years old.
Well, if you're playing pickleball down there, I know you're moving with your feet, and that's better than some of the poor folks that I see at Walmart on those motorized vehicles that they have to get around the carts now. So, Pete, what I want to do with a little second segment here of the show tonight is the idea of New Year's resolutions and how we can better ourselves physically and mentally. It's a brand new year, folks. It's a time to get motivated. There's a big thing on the Fox TV thing. They're debating whether New Year's resolutions are good or bad. Are you putting too much pressure on yourself? Is it better to incrementalize? I think it's good to go big, not go big or go home, but start big. At least, the higher your goal, the more likely you are to at least aspire to hitting. 70% of a great goal is better than 70% of a mediocre goal. So
I may disagree with that.
All right. Well, you're the physician here, not giving any medical advice, but just as a seasoned father, grandfather, husband of many decades. Let's talk about the New Year's resolution. What say you? How do you weigh in on this?
Well, I think having a goal, is key. There's no doubt about it. But I think when we pick these really lofty goals, and if there's a chance to fail, that puts a greater chance to fail. Yeah. It increases that probability.
True. Great point.
And then you say, oh, what the heck, and you just forget it. When I had my patients to try to lose weight, for instance, I would say, I want to lose 30 pounds. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I think that's a good goal. And how do you plan on doing it? And we'd talk about it.
Right.
And I would say, I think you should try to lose 1 to 2 pounds a month.
Good.
And they're like, really? And I said, yeah. I said, when it comes off slower,
that's a great idea.
The behavior that you've changed isn't so drastic where you will just give up. You hear these people saying, oh, I've lost, 30 pounds over 2 months. Well, what were you doing? I was now walking 20 miles a day. I was eating 15 calories a day, and just totally not taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
And it was like, and so I said, but you know what, John, my goal, you know what I've done recently?
Yeah.
I am now wearing a continuous glucose monitor.
Ooh, that's a good idea,
actually. And I'm doing that, and I decided, and I put this on a month ago, and I started my New Year's resolution early, and
Sure.
I say, okay, I don't really need to lose weight. I'm okay there. But I wanted to learn how different foods affect my blood sugar.
Yeah, very good. My engineer is nodding his head. He loves this idea. Sean Torres is all in. Continue, Pete Tinsman.
And so I'm seeing what foods affect me. And my wife wore one for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then she kept ripping them off when she was taking off her shirt or whatnot. I'm like, okay, you're not doing these anymore. But it was interesting to see how we could eat the same thing, and Heather's blood sugar responded differently than mine.
Wow, that's interesting. That's very
interesting. And this goes back that God made us all different.
Yep.
And we're all going to respond to it. And I'm learning how to eat things in a proper order.
Interesting.
To help keep my blood sugar from spiking.
Interesting.
And it's the spiking of the blood sugar that, people are saying is what causes a lot of the disease and the heart illnesses. And if we can kind of just keep that kind of, gentle rises and falls, that's better than these big ups and these big downs.
Great,
and so
great
I'm doing that. I'm doing that to kind of to see, and it really helps you think about what you're eating and am I really going to put that in my mouth? When you can see that instantaneous feedback, and when these monitors give you a blood sugar reading every 5 minutes, it's really fascinating. You don't need a prescription for the one I have. Dexcom makes it. It's called Stello. I think it's called Stello. You wear it for 2 weeks. So anyway, interesting. Very interesting. If people do that, they should go over it with their doctor and say, hey, listen, this is what I want to do, or this is what I am doing. What do you think of these things? What do you think of my sugars? And this, I had a yearly exam with my internist down here, and I showed him. He goes, "Hey, you're really doing well." I mean, I could see my big blood sugar spikes at the beginning, and then as I got more used to what I was eating and things calmed down, he goes, "You're really doing a good job." So I like it for myself. Maybe it's not for everybody, but if they're going to do it, have them go over it with their physician and see what they think.
Here with my buddy, the great Renaissance man for all seasons, the great gentleman, Dr. Peter W. Tinsman, MD. Not a medical show. This is just two boomers kicking it around here. That's why we call it Boomer Takes with Pete and Jake. Pete, I notice that I like it better if it's a sunny day than a cloudy day. And I notice that I even have a little bit more spring in my step now because we got about 10 more minutes of sunlight at the end of the day or in the early morning. Since the winter solstice, we're arcing back to springtime. And, I read about these folks that live and work up in Iceland, some of our armed forces members, or in Alaska, and some places where literally in sometimes of the year the sun never sets, and other times of the year the sun never rises. And certain people have seasonally affective disorder. And Pete, what's the role of vitamin D? I think it's incredibly important the more I read. Now, maybe too much of anything can not necessarily be a good thing, but Pete, how important is vitamin D? Do we need to be out in the sun? I mean, for so many years they said, stay out of the sun, you'll get skin cancer. I think we've got to catch sun rays. What say you?
Oh, yeah, you got to be in the sun. And, they say if you can be in the sun midday, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to help with your vitamin D production is good. They say with regards to getting up in the morning, first thing in the morning when the sun's coming up, being exposed to that first morning light, for the first hour or so, helps our circadian rhythms. It all helps with our health. I take a vitamin D supplement every day.
Yeah.
Because I absolutely do get seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah.
And two of my girls, I get it. My two girls get it. My wife and our two boys, it doesn't bother them at all.
See, it doesn't bother Deb at all. I call Deb Batgirl, because I think, she could live in a cave where it's dark. As long as she had books and a 25-watt bulb, she would be fine. I love light. I love the sun. And, I think it somewhat affects me. And it's interesting since, of course, we have great health care in this area, just the best. But being loyal to some physicians that Deb and I have known since literally high school. Pete, I just had my second cataract surgery. I will say this. I went to Dr. Joe Townley's practice up there in Omaha. Deb and I have known the Townleys forever. And big Creighton family, 10 kids, half of them are physicians. And Pete, I will tell you, since I've had that done, it looks like I've gone from a 25-watt bulb to a 250-watt bulb. And I'm seeing colors again that I didn't even appreciate I was not seeing. I've walked into Walmart going, look at all the blue signs. Look how blue these signs are. Isn't that amazing, Pete?
It really is. I remember when my dad had cataract surgery, he said, the greens are so green.
Yes.
And the sky is so blue.
Yes.
And you gradually just lose that as that cloudiness starts developing over the lens. And then all of a sudden, it suddenly goes away, and it's like, holy cow. So,
absolutely true. I was complaining to my engineer, Sean, here. I said, are they spraying chemtrails in Kansas? I've been down here over a year. I've never seen a blue sky. Guess what, Pete? It was me that wasn't seeing the blue sky. I've got the surgeries, finished, and there's beautiful blue skies in Kansas that I was not seeing. How incredible is that?
Yeah, I think that's great. That's great. I'm glad it went well, John. So both eyes are now done and you're good.
Yes. So thanks be to God. Praise be to Jesus, the divine physician, and very, very grateful for all of the blessings that we've had. Thank you, dear Holy Spirit. And we just had the great Christmas season, which, Pete, here's my rant of the week. I'll close on this. I love the meme from Downton Abbey of Mary Crawley. She's the star of the show, and the young daughter of Lord Grantham. And she, basically, there's a meme of her standing in front of a Christmas tree saying, "The Christmas tree stays up until February 2nd, Candlemas. You will learn to do things here and we'll do them properly." And I'm one of these late birds on taking down the Christmas stuff because, all right, the octave is 8 days. So you got to go at least to January 1, the octave, right? I mean, our Lord was circumcised 8 days afterwards. But then the wise men, January 6th, Epiphany. We have a whole culture rotating around Epiphany. Even the John Wayne movie, Three Godfathers, and even Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, for crying out loud, all based on January 6th, which is the 12th. Well, January 5th is the 12th day of Christmas. It's not the 12 days before Christmas. The 12 days of Christmas start the 25th and go through January 5th. Then you've got the wise men coming on January 6th. But I'm really traditional. I go to February 2nd, Candlemas, the Feast of the Presentation. What? Yes, I do, Pete. And that's the way...
Excuse me. You keep your Christmas tree up until February 2nd?
Well, no, Deb won't keep the Christmas tree up, but I still celebrate Christmas till February 2. I'll keep something around.
You take your Christmas tree down. We took our tree down today.
Oh, I told Deb, we won't be married if that tree ever leaves before January 6th. So usually she's pretty good about that. Sometime between the 1st and the 6th, she takes it down. So she may take it down this weekend. I'm cool with that. She probably will, as a matter of fact. So by the end of tonight, it'll probably be down, and that'll be the 4th. And yeah, we'll call it. And I've got the exterior lights. The great Shane Steelman from Steel Roots, who is a great supporter of our radio station and the community. He'll probably come around and get those lights down this weekend or early next week. But I love the seasons, and sometimes we short circuit our seasons, And so, yeah, I'm one of these old traditional, go to February 2nd, go to Candlemas, go 40 days out. And, Pete, I'm kind of stubborn and ornery. What can I say?
Yeah, well, what do I say? I would, yes. I would say yes.
But hey, I did not have seasonally affected disorder on our wedding day, which was February 6th, back there in 1988. I was psyched. I was in a great mood, even though it was bitterly cold and snowy. And of course, Pete, I had the great honor of you being there as one of my groomsmen 38 years ago. And
that was long.
We
seems like yesterday.
Yeah, we threw quite a party at Mercy High that evening. So despite it being cold and frigid, actually, weather-wise, and very snowy, you kind of make the best with what's due, and they still party in Alaska and Iceland. And we've really, though, been blessed with a mild winter here. So, Pete, what I always say is, if you get to New Year's and don't have a rough November, December, we've had a great weather run through New Year's. Worst case, you only have 59 days to get through until it's March and it's spring, man. There we go.
Well, it's Heather and I were talking yesterday. It was like, really, up in Iowa, it's like, after Christmas, you really have to make it to the first or second week in February.
Yes.
Then the days are so much longer, yep. And, it's warmer, and,
yep.
There's really, you only got to get through another 5 or 6 weeks.
And that's doable. Like you said, break it down into compartments. I always really, in my mind, start winter on January 1. If we can just get through December 31st without 80 blizzards, and 50 Arctic chill snaps there. Pete, real quick.
Oh, hey, John.
Yeah.
John, I was just thinking.
Yeah.
That in regards to the New Year's resolutions, I saw on Fox News this morning that only 9% of people continue their New Year's resolution. I think that was the figure that showed.
Interesting.
Did you see that?
I saw part of that interview, but I didn't see that aspect of it. So I'm glad you filled that in for me.
I thought there was something that showed up.
You've given me a good suggestion to kind of not be grandiose with the goal, but get it in a manageable compartment. I like that idea, Pete. I embrace that. I endorse that. That's an excellent idea.
I mean, that's what I think. If you got something that's, and you pick away at it. It's like I remember when my daughter was going to college in his freshman year, and we're dropping her off at the University of Dayton, and she was fretting about, I don't know if I'm in school, this is for me, and blah, blah, blah. And we ran into the dean of students, and the dean of students said, okay, you see this as a big problem, a big task, okay, your New Year's resolution, a big task. He said, break it down into little things.
Yeah.
Start with the easiest thing first.
Yep.
Take care of that, and then move on to the next thing.
Exactly.
And then move on to the next thing. And he goes, and before you know it, you're at your goal. And I'm like, wow, that's not a bad way of thinking.
Yeah, I like the Franklin planning system, the way they break out goals and kind of manage it into compartments. There all sorts of time and day planners that are helpful. Maybe having a calendar might be helpful. Pete, I find if I manifest things by writing things down, I feel better about it. It's cathartic.
Oh, I have to have things written down on paper.
Yep.
It's just, I think that's our age.
Yeah, it is.
Kids
Totally.
put it all on their phone.
Yeah, exactly. And even if I'm writing a speech, I still like the legal pad and the ball pen, So I'm a bit traditional like that there. Folks, when it is frigid and cold, make sure you've got that gas tank topped off in your car. Make certain that you've got hat and gloves along with a heavy coat in that car. Make sure you got a little water in that car in case you've had a road issue. Make sure you've got a fully charged phone so you can get emergency help on the road.
Got a shovel. Put a shovel
Absolutely.
in the car.
A small shovel so you can dig out.
Little shovel, yeah.
Yeah, so that's very important, and I think Pete's touched on the mental health game, breaking down that. So Pete, since I eat a medium cone every noon hour at the Dairy Queen 7 days a week, maybe instead of going
John,
cold turkey, I will take 1 day off per week. Instead of 365 cones, I will do 313. Yeah, 52.
John.
Yeah, 313.
You know what? Go online and get one of these glucose monitors.
I know, I'm scared.
And stick it on and see what your sugars do.
Yeah.
And see what does it really do, and so you can understand that.
Exactly.
Oh, geez, what I'm eating really is not a big deal. It's not affecting me that much.
Yeah.
Or it's like, well, maybe I shouldn't do this as frequently as what I'm doing it. I think really if more people, if we understood better about the things we ate, I think we would all be healthier.
Oh, I agree. And Bobby Kennedy has unlocked that like a treasury. Bobby Kennedy is so cutting edge on that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great things going on in the Department of Health right now as we speak. And Pete, I believe follow the science. There is, and we discussed this at the university with some of my confrere professors, there's such a thing called the ice cream paradox, where supposedly a certain number of adults that eat ice cream on a regular basis seem to have good longevity, and it troubled either Harvard or Yale to where they tried to debunk it, and they haven't debunked it. Now, Mrs. Jacobson ain't buying it though. She says the Dairy Queen ain't ice cream. That's not true ice cream. So she said that doesn't work for you. But I digress. Go ahead, Pete.
I was going to say, was that study funded by the American Dairy Association?
Well, as a former legislator, I'm very suspicious of any study. Follow the money always, right, Pete?
Well, that's my opinion, but I'm kind of old and getting,
You can always follow the money. If you're sleuthing and you want to solve a mystery, guys, always follow.
John, I think a good bit of homework for you between now and next week is for you to investigate to see what are the ingredients in Dairy Queen soft serve.
All right. Would it be better than the custard at Culver's? Would it be better than the custard at Culver's? That would be my follow-up question.
This is what you should. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you eat the ice cream on an empty stomach, or is it after you've eaten like a sandwich or something?
Usually on an empty stomach.
Okay, fine. So what I want you to do, I want you to get a continuous glucose monitor, put it on. One day, have Dairy Queen, and then, or do your week of Dairy Queen, and then do a week of Culver's, same amount of ice cream at the same time of day.
Yeah.
And see what it does.
And what about Dick Van Dyke Cold Turkey, where I don't do anything? The movie where they all quit smoking. That was the big thing in the 60s, Cold Turkey with Dick Van Dyke, who is still with us. It might be genes, it might be attitude, it might be just he's blessed. But can you believe Dick Van Dyke at 100, and he looks and talks great, Peter?
I know, it is amazing. It's genes, it's genetic, it's attitude, it's.
And William Shatner, he's going to be 95. He's doing stand-up lectures where he's lecturing for an hour in Ticonderoga, New York, where they've recreated a full real-life model of the USS Enterprise. I mean, not in miniature, a total duplication of what the Enterprise would be in terms of space and footage. Incredible. Shatner at 95, he gets to the plane, he flies to New York, he gives these lectures. How do these guys do it, Pete?
I don't know. I hope I'm that healthy when I am 80 years old.
Amen,
let
brother.
alone 95.
Amen.
That is amazing. That really is amazing. That is amazing.
Well, Pete,
maybe it's a lot of laughter in life, John. Maybe it's a lot of laughter.
Yeah. You have to laugh, otherwise you'd cry. And so I prefer to laugh.
And when you think about laughter, it makes me think about love, makes me think about hate.
Yep.
I mean, just think, when you're really angry with somebody and you are just, does it take more energy to severely dislike or hate somebody, or does it take more energy to love somebody?
Great point.
And forgive them?
Holding a grudge costs a great deal. Yeah.
It does. It takes a lot more energy.
Yep.
And I learned that. I've learned that, and it's just like you just got to let it go.
It's kind of like the old saying, living well is the best revenge. That really is true. Because they're in your head if you're holding a grudge. You're not in their head, so who's getting hurt? You are by holding the grudge.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what a great segment. Man, guys, we're over half an hour. The great Peter W. Tinsman, full of tremendous pearls of wisdom today. See, these boomers got some good wisdom there. And Pete is such a Renaissance man for all seasons. And Pete, it's always great to have you up here on the East Central Plains of Kansas, caromming all throughout. And, I love
Kansas, John.
It's great. Kansas is a beautiful state. From Dwight Eisenhower to Dorothy from Oz, we've got them all. Alf Landon and Dodge City. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, well, I got family in Kansas City. My dad grew up in Kansas City before he moved to Iowa.
I did not know that, actually. I did not know that.
Yep. Well, Kansas. My grandmother would say Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas. And I'm like, oh, sorry. So obviously, I don't live down there, so obviously there must be a rivalry between.
Oh, it's a big thing. Just ask the Kansas City Missourians, who are furious that the Kansas City Chiefs are moving to the Kansas side. They're furious.
I saw that on the news, and I'm like, oh, if my grandmother was still alive, she would not be happy about that.
A lot of people not happy about that here. And you're talking a half-hour drive distance. But again, oh, my goodness, the rivalries. So, well, Pete, we will welcome you back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Want all you guys to have a great new year and take Dr. Tinsman's informal advice as just a dad and a grandpa. Don't set an extraordinary goal that you're setting yourself up for failure. Get a New Year's resolution that you can work on and chisel away at incrementally, because most of the greatest achievements and accomplishments over time are done with incremental, step-by-step progress over a long iteration. And so we'll discuss some more of this next week. I want to thank engineer Sean Torres, Pete Tinsman, and on behalf of all of us here on our Sunday night block, on Primetime Sunday nights here, with Dr. Tinsman and John Jacobson, Boomer Takes from Pete and Jake. Hey, Happy New Year. Be safe, be smart, be good, be strong. Love Jesus Christ as he has given us this great new year here to live. And God bless us, everyone. Tiny Tim would still say that because it's still the Christmas season. And until we meet again, grab that podcast. Bye-bye.